2018 Aston Martin DB11 Coupe Review. The good points of Aston Martin DB11 Coupe. First new DB since 2003. Powerful new turbocharged V12. Roomier cabin beautifully trimmed. Borrows Mercedes' excellent multimedia system. More comfortable than old DB9. The bad points of Aston Martin DB11 Coupe. Ride struggles with harsh impacts. Light interior trim causes reflections. Steering more starting old DB9. Styling may divide opinion. The DB11 succeeds the DB9 as Aston Martin's flagship V12 GT, signing up for cars such as Mercedes-AMG S65 Coupe, Bentley Continental GT and Ferrari F12. Aston's DB lineage, named after one-time owner David Brown, stretches right back to 1950 and includes the iconic DB5 of Goldfinger fame. But the DB11 will be the first all-new one since 2003. And if you're wondering what went down to DB10, that had been reserved for its own rebodied V8 Vantage utilized in 2015's Bond film, Spectre. By the company's own admission, its previous offerings were too closely aligned, each car seeking to straddle the road between luxury GT and race car. Aston's new method to provide greater differentiation. This means the DB11 can give attention to being a truly great long-distance GT, leaving the project of supercar to more extreme performance versions that can come later. There's a familiarity concerning the front-end styling, which still features the classic Aston Martin face, albeit subtly recontoured. But relocate to the rear and also the design grows more radical, exhibiting no manifestation of previous DB's trademark kicked-up tail. Its job of providing downforce now passed into a jet of air consumed in at the split pillar and fired upwards from your boot lid to make a virtual spoiler. The DB11 is technically clever, though the styling changes may well not suit traditionalists. Although built with a new platform that can be resized to create 2017's Vantage replacement, the DB11 follows its predecessor's template of aluminium construction and mighty V12 engine. But this new V12 is downsized from 5.9 liters to 2. Yes, we understand, these matters are relative, but over makes up for the loss of capacity with two turbochargers. So equipped, the DB11 has 600 bhp 32 bhp over even that old Vanquish, and enough to consider it to 60 miles per hour in 3.9 seconds and into a genuine 200 miles per hour. This same basic platform and engine will sire a Vanquish replacement later, at least an added model, in addition to the inevitable Volante convertible versions. But for now the DB11 stands alone, making the buying decision easy. There are numerous options as well as this level. In relation to personalization, anything goes. If you've got the cash but only one engine, the other transmission, the wonderful and ubiquitous ZF8-speed automatic driving the trunk wheels exclusively. Traditionally Aston Martin has struggled to maintain pace while using tech options offered even just in mainstream family cars and expected by luxury car buyers. But Mercedes-Benz now owns a 5% stake in Aston, that has opened up a much-needed technology lifeline. Though the hardware is well disguised in the interior that still retains the stunning bespoke feel associated with an Aston, Mercedes owners would recognize the multimedia interface and circular control wheel that operates it. The DB11's interior is really a lot roomier versus the DB9's, although back seats are nevertheless very much created for small children, or adults who go potholing on weekends. Regarding the DB11 in many depth, watch the whole review here. The only engine offered within the DB11 is usually a twin-turbocharged V12 which causes 600 bhp and 700 Nm of torque, and a big improvement in performance within the DB9. In fact, the DB11's 3.9 seconds 060 miles per hour as serious amounts of 200 miles per hour top speed almost match that surrounding the old Vanquish, a supposedly far more extreme machine. Unlike many high-performance cars which may have switched to turbocharging, including Ferrari's California and 480 GTB, the DB11's new V12 still retains high of the aero magic that made the existing engine so appealing. You still have that wonderful flare of revs in the event the engine first fires unless you've because of the starter button and extended press to activate the brand new quiet start mode to hold your neighbors happy, and also the richly textured tune coming from your exhausts under hard acceleration can be a real joy to see. But the DB11's additional substantial lowdown and mid-range pull causes it to feel like an even more effortlessly accelerative machine compared to the DB9. Turbo lag is well contained, and also the excellent 8-speed automatic gearbox is just occasionally wrong-footed. A switch higher than the steering wheel spoke enables you to flick between 3 driving modes: GT, Sport and Sport Plus. In GT mode the gearbox assumes a relaxed demeanor, gearshift strategy, throttle response and exhaust sound, each increasingly aggressive since you progress over the modes. Although Aston has tried to produce a more light car while using DB11, there's still an expectation of performance car handling with any car wearing the DB badge. And thanks to a good weight distribution that comes from your weight from the front-mounted V12 being countered from the mass of the spine-mounted gearbox, the DB11 handles very well. It's a big car, over 4.7 meters long and almost 1,800 kilograms, but there's little proof understeer and the spine tires seem greater than man enough to cope with all the engine's prodigious torque. The steering ratio is quite a bit faster versus the old DB9's, quick enough to restore feel noticeably more alert when turning, however, not so fast that is required any kind of acclimatizing process, being a Ferrari. The steering is currently electrically in lieu of hydraulically assisted and, while pleasingly accurate, has lost some from the detailed feedback that made older Astons so enjoyable to push even at low speeds. Aston says that's a deliberate move created to promote the DB11's role being the relaxing long-distance companion, and also to make parking easier in case you plan to make use of their cars every single day. For a similar reason, from the adaptive damper's basic GT setting, the entire body is permitted to move quite freely. Some will like the suspension for taking a tighter grip even just in normal driving, and can be advised to utilize the leader-mounted exchange signal of select the chassis sport mode. Certainly for any type of enthusiastic use, Sport could be the preferred option. Sport Plus is best available racetracks and ultra-smooth surfaces. Aston interiors have looked largely exactly the same since 2003, excepting some changes to your center console design, carrying out a template laid down from the DB9. But just as the surface styling constitutes a radical jump, does the interior design, retaining merely the familiar console-mounted gearbox buttons either side with the starter button to place existing owners confident. Ahead with the oddly square-shaped but pleasingly chunky tire lies a fresh TFT digital dash, the centerpiece of which is often a giant circular rev counter whose design changes in line with which driving mode you've selected. There is some proof of parts originating from lesser cars, but nothing about the scale of Astons of old. The column stock is clearly Mercedes-derived, as would be the multimedia system and it is control wheel and touchpad. But the DB11 is not any poorer to the because the Mercedes strategy is well planned out and attractive to utilize, not an issue that could be said of Aston's previous efforts. As you'd expect of your car costing greater than £150,000, The DB11's interior feels fabulous. Beautifully stitched leather covers just about every surface, though it doesn't feature wood and aluminium work, which is every bit as pleasing to both the and your touch. And inside, the unlikely case of your respective friends not being wowed by so much, it is possible to show them the electrically retractable armrest cubby. Completely unnecessary, but on the subject of luxury one-upmanship, anything goes. One word of advice though, light-colored gray and tan interiors will make the cabin feel airy, but both cause terrible reflections on both the leading and rear windows, causing real visibility problems, so follow blacks and dark blues instead. Noise levels are pleasingly low aside from those coming from your V12, naturally as a result of tricks like double-glazed side windows, a characteristic used on high-end Mercedes for quite some time. There was some wind rustle on the side windows within the pre-production cars we drove, but Aston claims that's down to badly fitting seals and rectified before customers take delivery. Ride comfort is mainly excellent, however the 20-inch tires' low-profile sidewalls can battle to absorb harsh impacts, one example island potholes and transverse ridges within the road. Switching on the suspension's sport mode makes all the ride very slightly choppier, but pays you back with vastly tighter handling. Sport Plus mode, meanwhile, is incredibly stiff, rendering it unsuitable for some British roads, and is advisable left alone. As you'd hope, Aston Martin has had care of all from the essentials, causing a pretty strong basic kit list. Standard Aston Martin DB11 coupe equipment. No glaring omissions here. Expect sat-nav, DAB radio, leather interior, heated memory seats, front and back parking sensors with 360-degree view camera, cruise control and speed limiter, and dual-zone climate control. Luxuries provide an Alcantara headliner, laminated windscreen with noise insulation layer, along with a 400-watt Aston Martin stereo audio. Optional Aston Martin DB11 coupe accessories. The sky's the limit here, with plenty opportunity to ensure your DB11 looks unique. First off can be a two-tone interior trim upgrade, having a variety of colors and grades of leather, personalized sill plates and embroidered headrests. Carpets is usually upgraded into a heavier pile, and ventilation might be added on the seats, plus there is often a range of trim options from open-pore ash on the very special-looking chopped carbon. Gadget-wise, you may have sometimes a 700 or 1000-watt premium stereo, auto park assist, an umbrella and holder, powered seat bolsters and, fully grasp this, a powered armrest. For the outdoors there is often a gloss black answer to the splitter, diffuser and sills, plus roof panel, an underbonnet jewelry pack, different 20-inch alloys and custom brake calipers painted in black, red, yellow and gray. It's unlikely Euro NCAP is certain to get hold of your Aston Martin DB11 to try. Producer doesn't even feature about the crash tester's website. That said, you obtain plenty of airbags, dual-stage driver and passenger, curtain, side, head, plus pelvis and thorax C8 mounted airbags, and a good list of safety kit acronyms like Dynamic Stability Control DSC, Emergency Brake Assist EBO, Traction Control TC, Positive Torque Control PTC, and Active Torque Vectoring ATV. So we'd expect the DB11 to do fairly well. The reason is, when you are looking for comfort, the DB11 takes a huge step on the DB9. Its cabin is usefully roomier to begin with, both inside the front, and also in the back seats, although they're still best accessible children. The seats supply a great balance between comfort and support, holding you upright through corners, although not being so bulky that they're hard to climb in and out of. There's a 270-liter boot, too.